The 9th day of February 2024. You're welcome back to Real True Education, not fake news. My channel is doing fairly good, all told. This is on the Garda Pulse system. I picked the Gardaí because it is one branch of the Irish Public Service, and all of those are severely dysfunctional. Severely dysfunctional. I have to say, in relation to Drew Harris, the present commissioner, I'm not so sure. I haven't long enough to check, and I'm not long enough to meet the people who can tell me what's what. So I don't really know, except that he is woke, he is multicultural, cultural Marxism, and all of that. And in that regard, he and I are at loggerheads. We do not agree with that. I don't agree with that. Full stop. Anyway, there's more to life than that. And so one of the things I made in relation to the video I did on the death of Ian Bailey, and in which I was glad to get 13,000 views, in where I hope I did honour to the name of Dr. John Harbison, a true professional gentleman who was mistreated by the Fianna Fáil and the Fine Gael and Labour governments who had a say at that time. And I think I got that across. They wouldn't even give him an apprentice or an assistant or anything else, right? That's dealt with. I dealt with that good. The result was a whole mess made of the Duplantier murder. There is a textbook, there's plenty of books and everything on how to investigate a murder, and the earlier murder squad had a grip on it, and they were disbanded by Larry Wren because he felt they were out of his control too much and they were doing too much drinking, which in my honest opinion was probably true. But that doesn't mean you can just dump out your murder squad just like that. In any event, I then showed how the force was de-skilled, a deliberate set of de-skilling methods. They set about this. The commissioners was Larry Wren, who was the one who tried to get rid and got rid of the murder squad, and he was followed by another old lad called Eugene Doherty. And I mentioned him. He was the fella who was in charge of the Garda Training College in 1964, and he went to America, where they'd give him a mad course of you know that Full Metal Jacket film, you know that one where the army training, the boot camp job is shown, and that's a good film, I must say. But that's the sort of stuff he landed back with, and he forced a lot of good young guards out of the force because they couldn't stick that absolute tyrannical Auschwitz type of regime he installed in the Garda College. To hell with him. He's dead and gone, no loss. That's my view. In any event, he was followed then by Eugene Crowley and Pat Culligan. Now, in the term of Pat Culligan, Eugene Crowley and Pat Culligan, there were a number of things happened. One was the performance development review baloney was brought in. A couple of chief superintendents were brought up, or all of them, in fact, all of them. There were about 20, probably 30 of them, were all, maybe a bit less, were all brought up to headquarters, and they proposed this change. And of course, a couple of chief superintendents said, oh, well, now that's not as simple as it looks. But of course, there was always a few chancellors there to say, oh, my staff are good, my staff are good, oh, we will manage this, it's a great idea. Until they discovered, after 3 years, when they had to change the posting of the guards, that some sergeant who became the sergeant, let's say, in a town, where would I say, let's say at Boy in County Meath, for example, or maybe is there a Garda station in Selbridge? I don't know. I'm just picking these places. Maybe in Ballysadare in County Sligo, if there is one there. Don't push me on these places. A lot of the guards have been taken out of there. Granard perhaps would be another one. But anyway, the thing about it is, the sergeant went in there on his 3-year tenure. He moved into the Garda house. He bought a house there. He had his wife and family there. And then when the 3 years was up, he had to get the hell out, and they had to move him to some other place for no reason, where he was settled in and all. They never thought of it. The bloody idiots, as we call them, the egots, never thought of it. And after a while, in the commissionership of Pat Byrne, they decided this was unworkable, and they threw it out when the harm had been done. So a lot of people who might have been in the murder squad wouldn't join it because of this, and so you hadn't a proper murder squad. But in any event, it was partly disbanded anyway. The next thing was they brought in this performance development and review, where that was brought up, and also a great idea, and they introduced it. They spent 2 or 3 million euros training staff, and when they went to organise it and set targets for the guards, they realised that none of the people setting the targets could predict what was going to happen in their areas in the next 6 months. And so if they went on past performance, there'd be a few drunk drivers, there'd be an odd accident, there might be a death on the roads, there might be public houses, things and all of that. And meanwhile, all of the guards who took cases against the public where they fought them, they had to fight their cases. The public had a right to have lawyers and fight their cases. So it wasn't just as simple as setting targets. The best targets were ones where the Gardaí worked at a comfortable speed and tried to do a bit. Now, of course, there would be guards who wouldn't go out on the road, wouldn't stop someone for no tax, and just didn't feel up to it in many cases. They weren't confrontational in nature. But one way or the other, the performance and development review was a big thing all over the country. And when a murder happened, and someone told me there's 47 in 2014 in Ireland. When a murder happened, that couldn't be built into it. How did they build in the investigation of a murder into target setting in the next 6 months? You get my point. In any event, the whole ethos of the force had been altered to make the investigation of crime a petty, irrelevant thing, and something that where a local guard would be seconded into the murder investigation. We'd say there was a murder in Mullingar, God forbid, touch wood, they won't. He would work with them and might do a great job. When he would up for interview, it was his local superintendent wrote him, and because he didn't see him around, he said he was good for nothing, despite the fact that that guard had been doing a great job to investigate a murder, maybe off over in Athlone or in Kildare or something else. So they had no grip or no way of accounting or measuring anything. But that suited them because it enabled them to pick their sons and their daughters and their grandsons and their daughters and their nieces and nephews, and to act on the phone who's a great fella instead of measuring up what was useful themselves. And it's an awful lot of senior guards are nothing more than boot pushers above in headquarters that get promoted, administrators, that you can see where that's going. But one of the things that was brought in was the Pulse system, PULSE, police using leading systems efficiently. Police using leading systems efficiently. Now, I did a course in business studies, including IT. I think I got an honour, a low class honour in IT, first normal form, decision tables, all of that stuff, C++ and all of that, and I passed it. But the modern computers are only using that. They're the engine on which the car is built, and the programs you have on your smartphone are written by some person. Somebody makes them up. And unless you know what they're up to, it can take a while to get used to it. Moreover, they can change it a lot. So while I would be competent to understand how the software in a computer works and how the signals and the gates and all that and the valves all work, I wouldn't be that competent or that good as a young person who has a smartphone since they were 10. Get me point. So that's not a big problem. I have enough to do me, and that's all that matters. Now, the thing is, they brought out this Pulse system, and it was very user friendly. It wouldn't do what was wanted. The guards were used to writing out registers, and some of them were great. This wouldn't do it. So you'd press all the things, and it wouldn't go in. Now, I register my calves online, and it works fairly well. But this was the early stages. In any event, there was a meeting called between the superintendents, the chief superintendents, the divisional officers in Dublin with a commissioner and a deputy commissioner. And the commissioners and some felt that the best way to bring in this was to have it centred where the guards could ring up somebody in the offices and get the stuff put in, where they would make a note of it on a piece of paper and put it in. Now, there was a paper system before that. There was a form, I think it was a C1 or something, a crime form. And that was filled up and that was posted off and a copy kept, and there was a lot of paper. That was put on computer too. It was filed on computer. But then they went to go on that the guards could do it themselves. Now, at that meeting, most of the chief superintendents said you'd be better off have some central system and not expect all the guards to become IT experts overnight. They had a certain way of working. This would cause mayhem, it would cause difficulties and all of that, and it was going to be counterproductive. It was going to interfere with the flow of investigations and all of that, and use up more valuable time. And one or two or three chief superintendents full of crap. Oh, there, how my men will do it. My men and women, we'll manage it. Oh, it's well able to do it. And in saying that, they were signalling to the commissioner that they were progressive, that they were the material for promotion. You see, commissioner was sitting there and wondering what he'd do, and there was a good few, like myself, would be, go easy, take it easy, tread carefully, nice and safe, don't move too fast or you'll upset the whole thing. Some of these people are near retirement, are not familiar with this. We can do it gradually and all of that. And then the question came up, was it wise to have the Gardaes inputting the information at all? Was it not better to have someone like a staffer or something like that who was competent at this and doing it every day to iron out all the problems? No. Oh no, these fellas said, these couple of chiefs. Oh, I'm confident. And you see, in promoting their own people, they were promoting themselves. This is the key. It's the same as the wind energy. It's the same as the electric cars and that idiot that was called an idiot by Michael O'Leary, Eamon Ryan. This glossy thing is great if the person listening to it doesn't have the experience to assess it properly. It's the same as me with the wind energy. I'm saying you assess it from an engineering standpoint and you see what it's going to do or where it's going to do or what it's going to be. No, they wouldn't do it. As a result, we have several cases lined up trying to fight them in the parliaments to make them do the thing the way the law says. The same with this. There was no one to give the alternative view, and these couple of chief superintendents got their way, and the pulse system was introduced for the ordinary members. There was two guards, senior guards, who were nearly concentrating on violence and crime, thefts and all that in a seaside resort. That was their job. They started in the month of May, and they were great at it, and they were good at solving crime and getting all these wee bits of things and getting back handbags and all that. And the next thing, the pulse was landed on them, and they couldn't use it. It was sticking, it was holding. They were about to input stuff. Oh, the system's down. Oh, we want to find out, is this one, not this one, John Henry McGuggerty. You put in John Henry McGuggerty, the whole thing would collapse and they'd ring up the office. Oh, it's down. It'll be up tomorrow. Meanwhile, they're ready to go ahead. They want to charge the prisoner and all that. The system wasn't fit for purpose, and they weren't fit to use it even if it was fit for purpose. So you had a total disaster, and many of the senior guards who were good guards had to retire. They got out because they couldn't stick it anymore. In any event, this went on, and some of the guards were good at it, some of the guards were bad at it, and what really happened was one or two of the more younger guards that were up to this were called in to help the older fellas to get this difficult stuff up. It might be just a little bracket, it might be just a number, it might look for his SPSRI number, which mightn't be available. He might know it himself. So they had to wait till Monday and ring up the tax office. This is the guards here. John Henry McGurty, have you a PSRI number? It's so and so. And maybe they'd have to wait on that phone for 20 minutes. And by the time they got all done, it was time to go home for the dinner. This upset the whole train of investigation, and this was never considered by the idiots of chief superintendents, the few of them who were pushing it for their own advancement and everything else. So anyway, between the jigs and the reels, this system of the Gardaí inputting pulse held sway from about 1993, 94 I'd say, when the paper system, where they put it on a paper and sent it in, to a system where they put it in themselves, about 94 I'd say, became mainstream. And right into the noughties, 2001, 2003, and right up to about 2007 or 8, I think, this was the system. But it was a difficult system. It was very, very difficult. And eventually someone saw sense, because there are sensible people, even in the higher ranks of the Guards. And I understand from talking to a guard I met at a funeral recently that they scrapped the whole thing, and there's a big office in a police station or a Garda station in County Mayo, I think it is, correct me if I'm right, and you simply come in, the guard comes in, he arrests John Henry McCracken for having drugs in his possession or suspected drugs, and he wants to see, has he a conviction? He lived in Limerick for a while, or he lived in Sligo, and he can ring up, he can check them out himself. But when he wants all right, okay, sorry, get that right. He can check him out on the Pulse system. He can see all about him and what information there is about him. Right, so now he's deciding he's going to charge him, and maybe he needs some detail. Or, in another alternative, he might never see this guy before. This guy could be a newcomer on the scene. He might be over from England or whatever, and he has caught him with a suspected drug, and the lad admits it's a drug, it's we'll say heroin, and he also has him in possession of a stolen, let's say a stolen phone, and also maybe a knife that's not in accordance with the law, and he wants to charge him before the court. He now can ring up the centre, set out all, this is the facts, check it out, and then the lady or the fella who is running the show down there can then input that on the computer. There's a direct line between the Garda and all the problems are ironed out, and so the thing is much more smooth. But the point I'm making is that could have been done in the beginning. That could have been done back in the 90s. All they had to do was say, we're going computer, we're going to get staff, hire civil service, hire whatever you like. Might be a guard that maybe was badly injured or was paralysed or something, but had his wits, and put him there and all that, and there was no problem. They could have done it. Now, I understand about 2011, they did away with that altogether. So you see what I'm saying? They did away with the murder squad. I don't know what is there now, I'm not sure. They had brought in performance and development review, threw it out the window. They brought in job rotation, threw it out the window. They brought in this system of Pulse, and now it's back to a much more sensible system. And this should have happened from the beginning. All of these things should have been assessed properly at the beginning. But there's always the cowboy, there's always this jilly fella all dressed up to kill, and the commissioner was here, oh, in my division, oh, we will do this, oh, no problem. Meanwhile, after a little bit of time, the commissioners began to realise that they were calling some of these people's own staff disgusting. So while the chief had been bragging about all the people down in a particular division, right, whatever it might be, he sees that the story coming back is not that rosy, and that some of them are doing things he doesn't agree with. Moreover, there were inquiries into Donegal, which the judge found unbelievable wrongdoing, and he suggested remedies and all that. There were inquiries down in Kerry and elsewhere. So this bragging that the chief was doing, he was trying to say that because he was the appointed chief, we'll say from Dublin, we'll say for an example, or maybe Galway, he was appointed chief in, let's say, a division. I'll pick somewhere off the top of my head. Let me think of somewhere. We'll say Laois Offaly. He's appointed there. I pick it off my head. Suddenly everyone becomes masters of policing. Everyone's a master. Oh, he's in charge. Look at my staff. Top class. Oh, top class. And very well managed, and no messing taken. And the commissioners, some of them, swallowed this baloney until they began to realise that down in Laois Offaly there was messes all over the bloody place. He was only lying to them and bluffing with them and telling them out funny stories, and the management was doing the same. A lot of my videos, if you look at it, folks, it's all built around stopping hype, cutting out the bullshit and the hype, and making people do it right. And my approach, and why I put so much effort into planning, is that they will not start at the top and do the proper assessments under the SEA directive, and then the projects under the EIA directive, and do the planning. They refuse to do that. And this is where it comes from. Why have we universities on engineering, on management, on many things, and indeed a lot of good schools on policing? Why have we all those there? And they're totally ignored when it comes to government. Totally and utterly ignored. Sure, there's schools in Ireland that teach you how to do big buildings. Look at the Children's Hospital. Why are those professors and people, why is the information they feed out blocked off? And when it comes to government adopting things to do, and you see how they mismanage most of their projects, and particularly the Children's Hospital is just a case in point. And then you have an inquiry every few years with a judge, and he points out the obvious, and nobody listens. You had economist Colin McCarthy, who was hired to fix the economy after 2008 collapse, and he said you will have a NAMA for windmills. And I looked at my electricity bill the other day for the house, and I think if I see it rightly, the full bill is written off. It was €230, and there's a credit of €230, a government subsidy. That is a NAMA for windmills. So you see what I'm saying? We need to get away from this baloney, and I thought the EU would fix that. That's why I supported the EU. The EU brought out these directives, and they brought out the SEA directive, and I thought that they would enforce it. But no, it's me that has to enforce it. There are several cases there now, over a year, lying there waiting for the European Court of Justice to rule. It looks to me like they don't want to touch this. It's too hot. I don't know. But the point about it is, you get me point. These idiots like Roderick O'Gorman, Eamon Ryan, Catherine Martin, Vincent P. Martin, these idiots give out this baloney about the environment and everything else, and look what you have. It's pervasive throughout Europe, throughout Britain, and throughout America. Look at their lovely man of peace, Joe Biden. He has two flailing big wars running with hundreds and hundreds of thousands dead. It's time we kick these crowd off the scene. I know it's wishful thinking, but at least an old farmer from rural Ireland can point it out, and hopefully some of it will be picked up by the people who select and employ these people at the ballot box. That's the Garda situation. Everything they brought in with these rosy, gildy, yuppie officers who got up there because they had someone to plug for them, and then put forward this madness and caused inquiries to go wrong, and caused the planting of guns and bombs down in Donegal, and caused a lot of this stuff. Every bit of this was all preventable by keeping these villains out and putting them out and telling them, no, we're going to do it the sensible way. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you don't agree, thumbs up if you agree, up like that, a thumbs down if you don't agree, and comment underneath, and keep the comments logical. You can criticize me how you like, but make sure what you say makes horse sense in English. Bye!